Hello and welcome to week 2 in computer ethics. Last week was sort of the business end of the class, like getting set up, getting connected, figuring out where the resources are, messaging me in Discord, like lots of things. If you didn't finish up those 5 or 6 items, make sure you get them done. I'm still checking things off. That'll be a little bit of a process, but we're going to leave that behind us pretty soon. This week, we're going to start the process of crowdsourcing ethics. Now, what does that mean? I just found this background. I love this because some of you have talked to me, and I'm like a post-it note fanatic. And so to find a background, not just big ones, I have little ones, I have them in all different like sizes and colors. Definitely helps organize my life. And so we're going to you can use post-it notes if you want. We're going to use some other tools. But our main idea this week, well, it's twofold. One is we're going to start the process of finding out what are the big issues in technology ethics. Some huge ones. I talked to a lot of you last week. We talked about this little book, and I actually have a resource for you and an activity for you. We'll get to that in a minute that has to do with this book. But mostly, I want you to start thinking. This isn't a class where you can bubble in bubbles. And this isn't a class where there's a right answer. There are some answers that are better than others, and there are some answers that are more well supported than others, but there's a lot of wiggle room in here. And so let me do a screen share. I'll hit a couple of big things that we're going to do, and then I want you to jump right in and get them done. So screen share, screen share. There we go. I'm using Brave as a browser today just for fun. I've been trying it out. I kind of like it. It's sort of Chrome-like, but it's not as heavy as Chrome. So I'm not getting paid. This is not a paid promotion. This is just for fun. So when you look at our Moodle for week 2, which is where all the resources are, you'll see the video, which isn't here yet. You can't see it. But the 2 resources you should hit right off the top is one, you're already watching this video, right? So that's a good thing. And 2, you should take a look at the checklist because the checklist will just go down. There's some good information here. Don't ignore it. It'll go down, especially this top part will show you how to use the document outline, which is really handy. I love the document outline. But basically what I do is I list out all the things that you'll see in Moodle, and I try to put a little bit of context in there so it makes sense how they're all connected. I also give an approximate video time. This particular week, there's not a lot of videos. And then I know I like to watch it at 1.5 speed to 1.75 speed. So I did the math for you. Technically, my spreadsheet did the math for you. So you know that if you watch it at double speed, it's only this week 18 minutes of video. And that's a rough estimate because of one of the resources to read. Anyhow, that's what that's all about. So watch all this stuff. And the thing I like is that if you copy this into your own Google Drive, because you have a link option, you can either view it like this, or you can copy it. And if you copy it, it becomes your own version. So you can check things off when you're done with them. You can make notes, over here on the side for questions, whatever you want. One of the things you're going to do this week is find your team assignment. Okay, I've assigned everybody to a team. I just sent a message out to all the team channels. And so if you see a notification in Discord, you'll only see your team channel, and it's probably right above your notes channel. Okay, so that way you can identify it. We're not doing like a huge group project or anything, but with 30 people or so in the class, we could have one discussion forum and we could have like everybody posting to that. And that's going to be a huge headache because, yeah, anyhow, if you've done online classes, you know what I'm talking about. So what I've done is I've split you up into basically discussion teams. And so each team's got like 7 or 8 people. And that way there's not as much to read and respond to and go through. But this way, as a team this week, everybody's going to post their crowdsourcing ideas. And we'll get to that, like I said, in just a minute, in a smaller group. And then when we meet in Zoom next week, you'll be able to pull ideas from all of your teammates and bring them to the Zoom chat, because we're going to start this process of narrowing down what topics do we want to include on the class schedule. Anyhow, so look for something. You won't see all four of these. You'll just see the one you're in. But I put all four there because you might be curious, who are these people and why did I pick them to represent channels? Does that have anything to do with the class? Maybe you should go find out. Anyhow, as you go down, you'll see the think, learn, do. And then I've got a little skill building thing here. I'll take it off next week. It might add other stuff next week, who knows, just for skill building. But if you're not as comfortable in Discord as you'd like to be, and you check off these 6 videos and try to apply them, I think that'll go a long way in helping you find your way. And then this is just the countdown to the end. So every week that'll add a different, we'll fill that in a little bit more. So your checklist really is a good tool for you to use to keep on track of things. Now, there's a little Zoom preference survey and it says due Wednesday. Well, that's not very long, but it really only is going to take you like 3 minutes to fill it out. But I want it by Wednesday so that I can try to put together the time slots and get those out to everybody on Thursday so you can do some planning for next week. All right. And all the people I talked to in Zoom this last week, we talked about this. So it shouldn't be a surprise. Anyhow, I've got the weeks listed. They're currently planned for Zoom weeks. And then I've got, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And just check off whatever boxes apply. And if it doesn't, like if your time is, 3:30 to 5:30, just stick that in the other. That will give me some parameters to work with. I'll be honest, I tried trying to find a time that, several times that fit all the people is really tricky. And I tried to get ChatGPT to do it because I thought, oh, it's the perfect thing for an AI. Give it a tab delineated spreadsheet file that lists all the names, all the times are available, and give me 4 times that work for for the most people. Yeah, we'll talk about that in Zoom next week, how that worked out. AI is not as smart as you think it is. And that's why we're starting off first with AI as a topic. So anyhow, so there's that little survey. Then we're going to start the process. If we're going to talk about ethics, we have to actually agree on what ethics are. Like, what is ethics? What does that apply to? How do you know if something's ethical? So this nice little video and article gives you some things to think about and to look at. So start off with that. And then there's this playlist. It's a TED Talk playlist. I wish they would update it because there's more current TED Talks. So if you want to just do a search at the TED site, but this actually has a list. I want to say it's like 8 or 10 videos about ethical topics altogether. You don't have to watch all of them. Just find a couple that you think are interesting, but mostly just scan over because part of the thing is you need to get ideas of what are the big topics in tech ethics. And then we have our crowdsourcing issues, Allison Sparkland logging out. So let me jump over to the crowdsourcing issues in ethics. There's 3 parts to this. First of all, you don't know what you don't know, so you have to go find out, right? So go do a little bit of research, do a search like, what are the hot ethical topics in technology in 2023? Something like that. Doesn't have to be rocket science. And do a little searching and see if you can come up with a list. What we're doing though is we're looking for resources that are mainstream and reliable. Okay, so if you've taken my 101 class, you know all about reliable sources. I've listed here this library at Cornell University website that helps you understand the difference between reliable sources and popular sources. So I'm not saying you have to go find like academic research papers, but you want to make sure that the issues you're pulling are coming from sources that are pretty well vetted and that have some credibility. So that's kind of our benchmark. Anyhow, this resource will help you. Library at Cornell University gives you a really nice, quick guide to how do you tell. And then there are some resources. So there's an ethics and technology tile on our website, on our class website. I'll go back to that in a minute. Look at Google Scholar, look up Google Scholar, see what they have to say. The VVC Library database actually has 2 databases, the VVC Library website. CQ researcher and opposing viewpoints and context that are super interesting and useful for this. So you could look up space technology, you could look up, virtual reality, you could look up all kinds of things, and it will give you pros and cons, like especially the opposing viewpoints gives you pros and cons. And just to get some ideas, we're not doing a deep research project. What you're doing is scanning for ideas that look interesting. And then, of course, that New Tech, New Morals playlist that I just showed you. So this isn't the end all be all. This is just some places where you could go look. Your goal is to come up with 3 or 4 major issues. Try not to get too granular in your topic. Try to find topics that are broad enough that allow for some interesting discussions. So like on biotech, you might want to look at nanotechnology to cure diseases. Like, what are the ethical issues in that? Because they can actually inject you with nanorobots that will target medicines directly to cancer cells, but then you have little nanorobots swimming around in your bloodstream. So any problems with that? Like, what's the process there? So try to think of topics that are kind of bigger and interesting. And what you're going to do, you're not doing a huge research area or a huge research project. Find some topics, find a resource that talks about the topic, give a little bit of summary, like what's the summary of this topic? Who does it impact? Just a couple of sentences on each one, and then a resource that gives some context to it. And try to pick topics from different areas. Don't pick like 3 VR topics. Look at the broad scheme of things, maybe VR, privacy, and the digital divide. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out. You decide, you pick whatever you want, but try to pick them from 3 different domains. And like I said, you're going to make a notes document, Google Doc, whatever works for you. And you're not going to turn that in, but you're going to put down what the issue is, summarize it, who it impacts. Here's the resource. And then on the one issue, like out of the 3 or 4, the one you find most interesting, find a case study. And there's some case studies actually in the tech and ethics folder. We'll go there in a second. But find a case study that talks about a specific example of this ethics issue in play. All right. And again, you don't have to write down the whole thing, just summarize it. I'll link to it and summarize it. So what are you going to do with all that information? Well, that's where your team channel comes in handy. So on your team channel, you'll make a post. You'll start it with the topic crowdsourcing, the tag. Start it with crowdsourcing and make that bold, because then it's super easy to scan down and see, what you're talking about. And then just neatly list out, use Discord formatting. There's a video I put on the top of all of your notes channels that talks about really quickly how to format text in Discord. How do you put in line spacing? How do you make things bold? How do you, I don't know, indent things? It's pretty easy once you realize how to do it. So watch that video. It's like 2 minutes long, maybe 3. And make sure it's nicely formatted. So you're going to post that. And then if you want to respond to somebody, don't reply, use a thread. And again, there's a video on how to use threads in the Discord, on Discord. It shows up on the Discord help desk once a week, just to remind people how to use threads, because it makes the replies really neat. And if you're not sure what a thread is, on your team channel, on the post where I said check in, I made a thread called roll call. And so you'll be able to go see that. Anyhow, that's what this is about. So by the end of the week, let's do some crowdsourcing so we have some ideas to pull from. Now, I said I was going to show you that tech and ethics folder. I'm not going to go into detail, just to show you, just going to show you where it is. Ethics and technology. These are some, media initiatives. There's all kinds of good sources here. There's also links to some news sites specifically about technology. I always like MIT Tech Review. It's pretty good. I need to add Reddit in there. Apparently I didn't do that. So anyhow, so that's what's going on there. Now our second activity, let me come back down, is Alice and Sparkle. Okay, crazy book. And I love love, love the reviews on this book. Okay. So part of what you're going to do is go do that. Now, this project is going to be a little bit interesting. This is a thinking project. And again, I told most of you when we met that there you can have kind of any opinion you want. You just have to support it. So keep that in mind when you submit this. And this one you will put together a Google Doc and you'll share it with me. And that's how you'll submit it. So on this assignment itself, basically you're just going to add submission, a link to your shared Google Doc. And there's specifics about how to share it with me. There's also in the Google section of the help desk here, how to set your share permissions. Please make sure you do that. Every time I do an assignment, I have to chase this down. If you don't share it with me in editor mode, I can't make comments on it. So you gotta share it with me in editor mode, share it with anyone with a link can view under general access. So there's the details. If you go to, I should just open the slides. You can run through the slides here, but to be honest, it'll be easier to open. And what I did is I took the book and I made pictures and I found this cool little robot slideshow at Slides Carnival. And whoops, let me back up. And so I put the pictures and the text into this slideshow. Here's some things to think about. Here's what this assignment's going to do. This is the outcome. So you should read that so you have an idea of what I'm looking for. And then there's going to be 4 parts, or I guess this way, 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess I could have gone across, huh? That's kind of like ethics. There's a lot of ways to do the same thing. Anyhow, we're going to look at behind the scenes. We're going to look at what people are saying. We're going to look at the ethics in children's literature. Like, what does it mean to have an AI write a children's book? And then I want your thoughts. So if you click on these numbers, it'll take you directly to those slides. But I'm going to let you dig into that and then ask questions. So we get to the story, and I'm just going to show you one thing. What I did is on pages where there was just text, like this, I kind of matched it with the picture on the other side. So I didn't think like this one. I just, pages where it's just text, I kind of just stuck in boxes like this. And then, you just go like, this is a good example. So this one I matched the text on one page with the picture. So I took a little bit of artistic license. I'm doing this under fair use. I'm not selling this. You can't share this. And but use it for class. And if you come down to the slides, way down at the bottom, the assignment details, you can see what we're going to do here. So create a Google Doc, follow the directions, put a heading on it so I know who it's from, and make it easy to read. That's my main criteria, is make it easy to read. But I want you to really, really, really think about it. The last part is a logging out, and please don't complete this until after Thursday. Quick survey gives me a touch point of where you are now that we're in our second week, and now that we're doing now that we're starting the process of thinking. So I am like super excited about the topics you're going to come up with. I don't always, unless called into a team channel, I don't really respond there, but I do read everything because it's super interesting to see what you guys are thinking. And thinking is what this week's all about. So have a really good week. Jump in, get that Zoom survey to me ASAP. Like if you're watching this video, just take 5 minutes right now, jump over there, get her done. All right, I'll see you soon.